Hi folks, Sean Cordisco back again. Another game from round 2 of the 4th annual Sinquefield Cup, played at the beautiful Chess Club and Scholastic Center in St. Louis. Heck of a game. White, former U.S. champion, the top 5 players in the world. Carl Nakamura is white, my buddy. And as black, Giri from the Netherlands, top world-class player. Anish gets a lot of grief about all the draws he gets, but I'll tell you the truth, a lot of the games he draws are fighting games. So I think maybe Anish gets a little picked on too much concerning that. Let's get to it. It's going to be a semi-Slav Botvinnik system. Nakamura is white, and Giri is black. Let's just go through it here. Go through the opening. I'm not big on opening theory in this channel. E4, Queen A5, pretty typical stuff. Bishop has to come back. As you can see, it's going to be a problem. You could probably move the queen here, but then knight takes, and you got some problems. So bishop has to go back. C5, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, castles. I think most of us would castle here, but probably not a good idea. The knight goes back to c2 to chase the bishop. Knight comes up, knight takes, queen takes, b3. And I think white is fine. Pretty much an even game. This b-pawn is very well guarded by the queen and the bishop. If this bishop has to move, white's going to castle shortly. Queen e7, then white castle. So here we are. White's got a little lead in development, nothing serious. The bishop on c8 really has nowhere to go of any good right now, so we'll see how that works out. Rook d8, rook e1, and he brings the knight right up. Frankly, I like b6 myself, he and Kel the bishop, but he brings the knight right up to hit the bishop. He doesn't want to lose the light squared bishop, but I don't blame him. Goes all the way back to f1. I wouldn't want to go here, because it blocks the guarding of this pawn. And of course here, you just lose it. Bishop d7, queen e2, bishop to c6. That's a lot of time wasted. We did get the bishop in a decent place. Bishop g5. Now that's an annoying pin. Can anything really challenge the knight on f6 to make the pin worth a little bit more? No. There's no other. The knight can't sneak in here, of course. So he goes to kick it. He just goes back, of course. But knight g6 to chase off the bishop. And I kind of like that on black's part. Forcing the bishop to g3. He's going to double up on the d file. And Hikaru decides to go f3. What to do? What to do? Well, those of you that were wondering, he loses a piece, right, with check. Queen here saves the piece, so. Rook a to d8. Queen e3 anyway. a6. Rook, queen b4. Less than a half pawn advantage for white. I mean, it's still a game's a game. Now it's just chess. Rook e to c1. Now it's positions like this where I have the hardest time, because I really have trouble formulating a plan on what to do. That's one of my biggest flaws as a chess player. Even a lousy plan is better than no plan at all. And this is roughly a part of the game where I start to wander a little bit. e5. Bishop comes back, forcing the queen to move. The interesting here, this is one of the top 10, actually it's the top move now in the computer. Knight to a2. Very interesting. Rook d4. Bishop a5 to annoy the rook. Rook has to move. Bishop c3. Now those bishops are just going to be a pain in the behind. Between this one and this diagonal and this one. That's the thing, they have the bishop pair. They got open spaces, they can harass the crap out of the rooks. Bishop takes. I think knight takes e4 might have been a little better. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, queen a7. Now what Anish has done is he's traded a piece for 2 pawns. I thought maybe it was premature. Maybe Anish got a little antsy. But I think that's not going to work out for him. We're going to have to see. I'm not so sure on that queen to a7. Even though the computer doesn't like it. Queen to b6. Queen f2. But Carl decided to go a7. b5. Queen takes the pawn. Knight. Trying to get the queen out of the action. As you can see, he's starting to move his pieces on the king side here. And soon, this queen's going to come over this rook. And hoping the queen is stuck on the queen side for white. If pawn had taken, pawn takes, rook d6. And that's a huge advantage for white. After knight to g4, h3, kick the knight. Queen checks first. King moves. Knight to f2 check. Now this looks a little scary. You can screw this up. You can. And this is what I think Anish might have miscalculated. King to g1. It's mate in 5. King to h2. And Carl had it all figured out. Queen to e3. It's just over now for Giri. Just miscalculated. Rook d1, queen checks, g3. What a beautiful move that is. Beautiful move. Look at all the black pieces swarming around the white king when there's nothing black can do. Queen f5. Slowly but surely builds up a defense with bishop to g2. And the computer likes rook takes e1. But he decides to bluff. Now, there is no luck in chess, technically, but you can bluff somebody. Now, we're on move 37, and at times, Carl was getting somewhat short of time, which is really unusual for him. And he went rook to h4. That's just a disaster. After rook takes, rook checks, king up, rook takes, h5, it still really sucks for black. I doubt if he can survive it, but it's much better than rook to h4, because now, queen checks, king to h7, queen to f3. Now, this is where Carl didn't want to screw up. He went queen to f3. I think 99% of us, Carl's one of the best players in the world, did that. The way to really go was g takes, rook d3, rook b2, knight takes, queen e4, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes check, king to g1, knight f3 check, king to f2, and white survives. Now, Carl would have had to figure all that out instead of going queen to f3. And the thing of it is, computers, of course, have no emotions. There's no time pressure, and they defend beautifully. So, Carl missing that, of course, is more than justified. Queen to f3, rook takes, should have played bishop takes, but he went king to g1, queen to f3, bishop takes. And this is where Carl got too cautious. Bishop takes h3, and the game is over. Believe it or not. The game is over. King to G1 actually draws. Now queen takes, bishop takes. Knight to G4, I believe, draws. You can stop the video and work it out for yourself. But what I've worked out, it basically draws. Now we're on move 41, so there's no time pressure. They reached the time control. He just casually moved knight to D3. And I believe that draws. He should have went knight G4. After bishop takes, rook takes, king F1, rook takes. And it's 3 pawns for the piece. Carl, maybe you still would have won this one out, probably. But as happens, you just move casually without, I don't know why I didn't think about it. Which reminds me, you're going to see short interviews with both the players here at the end. Oh, some of their remarks on the game. But now it's just over. Rook to E3. Rook takes. King H2. Rook takes. Rook takes. Bishop A4. Pawn takes E4. Rook F5. And now Carl's just doing the mop up here. Knight F4. Rook. Of course, he's making it hard for Carl. Oh, I wouldn't want to fight on. Rook takes. Pawn. And Carl looked at this and said, this is an endgame I can win. He just took the knight. Get rid of both of those knights. They're a pain in the ass. G takes. And now all the black's pawns are isolated anyway. Rook F1. He just starts going after him. Knight checks king. King G6. A5. Here goes the pawn. King F5. Here goes the pawn. The pawn's running now. A7. Rook has to go back to D8. Besides a check instead on H3. King to G1. Rook checks. King up. Knight checks. Comes back. Rook finally stops pawn. Bishop. King G4. Bishop E5. And that's where Carl resigns. Give you an idea. Excuse me. That's where... honest Giri resigns. Excuse me. Give you an idea. Rook has to go to A8. Rook takes check. Plus on top of that, even before that, White's threading bishop here. Then queen the pawn. So that was enough. Anish said, that's it. I give up. So, interesting game. I thought Anish got a little antsy towards the middle game there when he did that piece for 2-pawn sacrifice. Didn't work out for him, but... So, win for Carl Nakamura, my buddy. Congratulations. And look for other games coming up in this great, great tournament. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
A quite complex one. Anish, this game was interesting, to say the least. Where do you think you went wrong in the game?
Well, the funny thing is that I played, well, I think I had a very comfortable position out of the opening. Of course, he has a bishop pair, but he didn't quite have the harmony in the position. And after bishop g5, which felt to me like a dubious move, I had a lot of interesting options, but I couldn't quite find the clear advantage, and the way I played, I just ended up worse. And then I made like 5 horrible moves in a row. And the funny thing is that I would just normally lose it, slowly, but then actually the game got interesting when it should have when I already thought that it no longer will get interesting ever. Then I gave the piece. I mean, it was completely desperate, and I think there it was completely lost. But Hikaru got very confused, and I think the endgame, practically speaking, was not so easy because if I wouldn't have opened the b file, if I would keep the b pawn on move 44, if I would not take on a4 and play, with 4 pawns against the rook, there are some practical chances.
There was a moment in this endgame that the engines pointed out. It was actually the move 41. We talked about the sin of move 41. If we can pull out that position just for a moment.
G4,
yeah, this move knight to g4.
Can you show me the position?
You played you played right here very quickly with knight. Yeah, it's right here. Knight to d3, but knight g4 you played almost without thinking. You just banged down knight to d3, but knight g4 seemed quite interesting. You didn't look at it at all.
Well, I missed that. I must say that originally I thought I'm completely lost, and then I saw that I still have chance with 93, and I played it. But I didn't realize there was another move. No, is it even? Is just fine for black, or what's his?
It's sharp. It's not just fine, but it's certainly a challenge.
Probably
after all
it's the same thing,
all
but with
capture.
the rook instead of the knight. I mean, he probably has to take on g4. I take back, and then.
Yes, and now you're not down a rook.
Yeah, it's a pity because a few moves back. I mean, after rook h4, it was a funny position. Yeah, after rook h4. If two moves ago still. Yeah, here.
It seems that he could accept this rook and continue the game, but
yeah.
he didn't want to risk anything.
Yeah, then there's rook d3 with some practical tricks, but yeah.
The computer defends, but as we know,
well, obviously,
it's not
even
so easy.
A human should be able to, but of course, Hikaru was confused here. Yeah, it's a pity because honestly, I just I only saw knight d3. I didn't see this move knight g4. I should have thought, of course. I mean, I kind of. I was happy that I'm not losing right away already with knight d3, but I didn't realize it. I suddenly have a real chance.
We talked about the sin of move 41. This happens to a lot of players, and the history of book certainly has a lot of move 41 sins. Why didn't you stop just in that moment? And
Well, I've committed far too many sins recently to, you know, there's a lot for me to improve and to learn still.
One last question in that score. We know that you had a very solid year last year, but have you been trying to change your game a little bit to take it to the next level? You feel like that's affecting you in any way? That's a two-part question.
Perhaps. I mean, when I lose, it's not because I'm trying to improve, obviously. I just play badly. I mean, last year I had a problem of winning too little games. Seems this year I have a problem of losing too many. So, yeah. I mean, last year's problem seemed like a joke compared to what it is now. No, but okay. I mean, I don't think this time to start dramatizing. I mean, at the end of the day, we just started the tournament, and today's game, although it was bad, it was still interesting, and I think I can still show better chess.
Well, we hope to see that happen in the rest of your games.
Thanks.
The crew is losing it right now. It's been a long day. let's just finish this interview and be happy. First of all, a gentleman who should be happy after a bounce-back win. Congratulations on your win today, Hikaru. It was a very complex game, very interesting game. It looked as though you might have had something with the two bishops, but then it looked like he should have been okay, and then all of a sudden you were just better.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically Anish, he simply he misevaluated the position that he thought that he was the one playing for the advantage. So he got a little bit overambitious because the opening was absolutely nothing. I mean, Anish was completely fine, but then he started getting ambitious. And once I got the rooks on b1, c1, and then this f3 bishop e1, I mean, I definitely had the advantage. You know, I guess I was surprised that Anish went for this whole crazy sacrifice because I thought he still was okay if he played like rook c8, knight before rook c7. I know I probably would have gotten two bishops against two knights, but I thought that he still should be okay. And then later I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, like when I played this okay, after this rook h4 move on move 37. I mean, we both were getting short of time. And I mean,
was completely wild. Then he played this crazy sacrificial idea.
Yeah, well, it's the only move I think. I mean, I think otherwise he can resign. So I mean, it's the best move by far. But yeah, like here I wasn't sure what to do because originally I wanted to. I mean, there are so many different moves here. There's not so many. There's queen c8 or there's g takes h4 in terms of the obvious moves, but I just couldn't quite work out the complications. And so I kind of gambled. I did see this. Queen a8, what happened in the game, queen a8, king h7, and queen f3. I mean, I saw in the game, instead of rook h3, I saw it from the other order. I saw knight g4, king g1, queen f3, bishop f3, rook h3. And you know, I went for this, well, not king h1, king g1. Yeah, I mean, I went for this just because I thought there was no risk. I mean, it's black should be fine, but I didn't think there was any risk. And so I went for this, and then during the game, like, I mean, Anish was down to like 30 seconds, but I didn't realize that even from the other order he can get this. So like when he played rook h3, king g1, you know, I saw knight d3, rook e3, and I thought I was winning. But then like this was move 41, I think. Right. I think it's move 41, and like to my horror, I realized that he could just do it from the other order and go knight g4 anyway. But Anish, I mean, we both missed some tactics in this game, and after an 83, I mean, I think it's probably just winning for me. So yeah, complicated game.
Yeah, definitely extremely complicated game. Is it the kind of game you just say, chess is something it's extremely difficult to solve over the board play? While some of the games can be this erratic, so whatever happens is really about the result.
Well, I enjoyed today's game. I think today's game is more like chess in its purest form. In that, the position was completely fine. It was something normal, and we just played chess. I mean, like my game yesterday, which I lost, I mean, I almost think it's kind of criminal the way that basically I lost the game because I forgot one move of preparation. And that's the way modern day chess is. But it's still nice sometimes to just be able to get some normal position and play chess. I mean, because that's, I think, chess in its purest form.
You're at 50% right now. How do you feel about your standing in the event?
It's pretty good. I mean, normally I would draw Wesley with black, and I would draw Anish with white. So it's a pretty good start. I mean, not good actually, but it's the start that I would have expected.
All right. Well, get your rest, and we look forward to seeing some more pure chess tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.